Mineral Resources Minister Mosebenzi Zwane has come under scrutiny and also attack, and he defends the new mining charter that seeks to accelerate black ownership in the key industry. Now, Zwane's approach is that of a win-win situation for all. However, the objections from the industry seem insurmountable. And joining us in studio is Mineral Resources Minister Mosebenzi Zwane. Good to have you, and thanks so much for joining Africa News Network. Just looking at the agreement on Friday to halt the implementation of the mining charter based on the interdict from the chamber, the National Union of Mine Workers criticized you, saying you are trying to appease the mining or chamber of mines. You've essentially succumbed to pressure. What's your comment?
Well, I'm not the kind to get any pressure from anybody. What I want to say to all South Africans, we took these reasonable decisions after the chamber had applied for an urgent interdict. If they were granted the urgent interdict, this charter would have gone for review, which would have taken up to 5 years, stalling the progress of transformation. We said no, we're not prepared for that route. Let's give them an assurance that let's go to court. You want us to go to court? We allow. Let's allow the process, but let's go in September. Let's have a full bench so that we hear what is it that you want or don't want in this mining charter. These 2 months, we are prepared to lose and wait for the court so that we understand what is their problem when it comes to this charter.
Okay, but in the interim, we're told that you've got a moratorium of sorts, in that no issuing of new licenses will be done while this matter is in court. Can you confirm that?
Well, it was not our intention, but their interdict leads us to that point where we are saying the charter has been paused, and it means, therefore, that all the activities like new mining rights, Section 11, prospecting rights, I have today signed a notice that will be placed with the intention of putting a moratorium on them so that we level the playing field. We wait for the court and nobody's losing.
And you aren't you concerned about a backlash just on the moratorium and the action that you're taking now?
No, it's not us. We have not applied for the interdict. It is only logical that if we pause about this charter, we must pause on issues that will affect this charter. They have asked for it. We are responding.
The Chamber of Mines also complained, or rather raised concerns, that there has been different drafts put forward, and this particular one, it's either the wording, they're not comfortable with it. On the one side, you also find praise for the charter. So in your view, what is different about this particular charter, and what does it aim to achieve?
Well, this is the only charter that I'm involved in. I'm not negotiating with anybody on a new charter. That is why we are going to court. But this charter has actually took lessons from the previous charter, where less than 3% of the black people in South Africa realized full and meaningful economic participation in terms of them being transformed. That is why we're coming up with targets to ensure that we can monitor and follow up.
I want to go back. I mean, it's 23 years down the line in terms of the abolition of apartheid. The expectation would be that there is greater ownership, control and management of the economy, and primarily economies that anchor South Africa, like the mining sector. Why is it that that hasn't happened?
Well, we must take some blame as government you know, we have been learning throughout this process. Remember, this charter is number 3. It's not the first. So we could see our mistakes in terms of not coming with clear and measurable targets. That is why this enhanced charter, to ensure that what we set ourselves up can be measured and can be achieved within a particular period. And I mean, that's the reason I can attribute, but also the business itself has not made it easy for transformation in South Africa to take place. Hence, we can even see, even in this one, there's a lot of resistance, people pulling to all directions, rather than us working together to transform this country and come up with a true rainbow nation.
I mean, you hear from market commentators that already the sector is under pressure, commodity prices, the volatility thereof based on imported pressures, I guess, from the rest of the world, and then the 30% BE component not being feasible and potentially even scaring off investors. Is it feasible?
Well, it's very much feasible. The charter for tourism is 30%. The charter for construction, if I'm not mistaken, is also 30%. And they came before this charter. Nobody made noise about them. We have just moved from 26% to 30%. I mean 4%. And in reality, people must be told that it is the mining industry and the agricultural industry that have been doing well even after the gazetting of the charter.
But if you say this is generally good for the greater majority of South Africa, it will not impact on the operations or even profits of the mining companies, why then is there so much opposition to it?
The way the business has been done in South Africa, most of the time, business would want to have more profit at the expense even of us transforming our people to the level we want our people to be transformed. The fact that we're putting targets and contributions because of the circumstances out there does not sit well with business, because they have to contribute, unfortunately, to the transformation of the country.
Well, business could concede and say, look, we've given in to the once empowered, always empowered concept now that is no longer featured in the new charter. Why do you think that we still have an issue with the once empowered, always empowered concept?
They had a problem with it. We sat around, we agreed with them. Hence we said, despite your concerns, let's agree that the people you are saying you have empowered, call all of them and see whether they were fully empowered or they are deeply indebted as we speak. And the truth is that people are deeply indebted. This charter seeks to deal with issues such as that, to say, if we empower somebody, we should not be empowering other institutions like banks, lawyers, and so forth. We should empower the individuals that we are saying we are empowering. And this charter is couched in a way that will achieve exactly that.
I mean, the incumbent government has been almost obsessed, if you like, in job creation and not necessarily looking at equity, true empowerment versus ownership. When it comes to ownership in general, there is a slant towards foreign ownership. How does that complicate the South African prerogative of having black ownership and predominantly African black?
Remember that our prelude to this mining charter is that the mineral resources of this country belongs to all the people of the country. State acting as a custodian. If you look at the current scenario, we're not at a position where we can pride ourselves in achieving that. Hence your question. This charter seeks to increase ownership to the people of this land and the majority of this country who happens to be black. And we think that is the role we are playing and are prepared to go forward and will not be tempted to look back.
A terminology can also be problematic. Previously disadvantaged persons or individuals, as you said, this charter aims to advance the ownership and participation in the economy of the majority black. But now you've just put it as black persons, which your critics are saying this is to accommodate the Gupta family and their business advancement. What is your comment?
Well, thank you for that question. We often are criticized of talking before we read. And I think that's the problem with most South Africans. The issue of black persons is not my own creation. When we came up with this charter, we had to align with other BEE codes, like your DTI BEE codes, that actually has the meaning of black persons as couched in this charter. It's not our own creation. We found it there. We are using it because we are part of the collective.
So to the South Africans that may be concerned that, again, naturalized black persons would essentially take away their opportunity, what would you say?
Well, we have debated this issue for quite some time. Remember, previously it was historically disadvantaged. We came to the understanding of black persons, which is couched by the BEE codes. People have raised their issues even during the consultation period. But as I'm saying, we are not a standalone. We will say to the people of South Africa, raise this matter, let government look at it, we will abide by the terminology that will come out of those kind of consultation. But for now, we had to move away and align ourselves with what is there on the table.
But would you agree that there is a legitimate concern that those that weren't previously disadvantaged may benefit from the new mining charter by virtue of qualifying as black persons according to the BEE code?
Well, those who have a concern about that may have a legitimate concern. I must concede. But seated here as a minister, I'm part of the decision. I can't run away from the laws and acts that are there by our government. That is why I include myself in this issue and say, let's look at it and find a solution. If the majority of the people of South Africa believes it's a problem, but they must not raise the problem only when it comes to one sector. As I'm saying, this matter is there in the tourism charter, it is there in the construction charter, it is there in the BEE codes. Why would people choose to raise it when we talk about mining charter only? Let's raise the issue.
Maybe you're best to reply to that. Why then is there a differing approach to or concerns when other sectors it has been effectively implemented?
Well, I've been asking people around, do you know about the tourism charter and what it says? For an example. And you know the answer I'm getting? People do not know. So I believe that the way we have gone out and mobilized society to say whatever they want to say about the charter, mining charter, is the response people are beginning to give us, and we must accept it. that this matter of the definition of black persons should be looked at. We accept that, and we believe it is because we have gone out and really consult with the people.
But it's not going to change, as you were saying. It is part of law in terms of the BEE codes, how black persons are defined.
Well, it can change if government looks at it holistically. But we cannot ourselves, on our own, come up with our own interpretation away from the interpretation that is used collectively by government.
All right, let's look at the benefit to the communities. You've proposed the 1% tax off the total turnover of mining companies per annum to benefit communities. So isn't this a function of what Labour would have done, or even social development, or even other strata of government to ensure skills transfers, etc.? Why the introduction of this particular tax?
Well, the 1% is not a tax, it's a contribution. It contributes to enhancing transformation. It opens doors for our people to have a meaningful participation in the sector. If you go out and ask these black people who have been there in the sector, can you participate meaningfully? Their main issue is finances. Now, having sat down and looked at history and the experience we have gained, we want our people not only to be passive BEEs, we want our people to be active in the sector, because we're preparing them to actually be part of ownership of this country, gain experience in control, management, and even advertisement. And as they do so, there must be liquidity. And we are creating that liquidity.
Now, one of the concerns of the chamber was that you're creating, or rather it's overreach, that you cannot call for this additional 1% contribution. Is that your view?
Well, in our engagements with them, there was no issue. I can repeat it on record because we have minutes. They never had an issue about the 1%. The modalities in terms of how do we couch this 1% before tax deductions and so forth was the issue. So it always puzzles me when this issue has now become to be the issue as if we never consulted. Nobody had an issue with the 1% because we agreed that there's a need for it with all the stakeholders, including them.
So this would be part of your responding affidavit then when you do meet with the chamber in September. But the issues around consultation were also raised, that it wasn't adequate, some were even informal. What's your comment to that?
Well, as I've said earlier on when I was interviewed, we have met with them about 15 times. We have records. Unless somebody tells us that when you consult, does it not mean talking to people, engaging them, listening to them, and changing where you think is critical for you to change? There are issues they've raised, we've changed, like the once empowered, always empowered. Ne? And so it means we have taken their issues and applied our mind and acted after those consultations. We cannot perpetually consult. We are supposed to take 3 months consulting. We took the whole year up until everybody was asking, when are you giving us certainty? When are you gazetting? When we gazette, now people say consultation. People must understand that if you consult with more than 60 stakeholders. No stakeholder will get 100% of their contributions in the document.
But what is the ambiguity, though? I mean, the charter has been criticized for being confusing, contradictory. What is so confusing about the terms?
Well, we have opened our doors for people to come and raise the confusion so that we clear it. Because in terms of how we have captured the charter, we're saying 30% from 26 for black persons. It is straight and clear. We're saying 14% thereof goes to entrepreneurs. It is clear. We say 8% communities. Clear. And we say 8% workers. 1% of the annual total turnover be contributed to 30%. So according to our stance, this is the simplest mining charter we have ever had.
All right, then, and the 30%, how do you even derive at that? We know there are case studies where neighboring countries, Botswana, Ghana, Kenya, Zimbabwe, had used an indigenization program of even up to 51% to local ownership. Why 30%?
Well, we did not want to move ahead without dealing with the financial gaps. Because to us, if we had moved from 26 to 51, for an example, we'd still need to say, what is the value of 51% if our people still need to go to the banks and go and borrow money? It will be more expensive. Now we set 30% and said that 30% should be paid out from the dividends in the period of 10 years. And in case 10 years is not enough, we'll then request the holder to write off the remaining. It means we have given a surety to our people that in 10 years' time, all the 30% shares will be vested. But the charter goes further to say all the new prospecting rights, 51% must go to black persons, black-owned companies. It balances out, you know, because at the level of prospecting, we believe that in terms of the value and pricing, our people can be able to play there and move from there. And that is with immediate effect. So we think we have covered and balanced in terms of the contributions that we receive from our people.
Yeah. Issues around accountability, transparency, integrity, ensuring that deals are done above board have also been raised. NUM, among others, saying the 14%, they need to see beyond the veneer of who those beneficiaries will be. Can you clarify that?
These people who are raising these matters currently have not told the country what has been happening all around and what has been the criteria of selecting or identifying the current players in the sector. We have not tampered with that. For record, mining companies will go out and identify the players, black. All what we are saying in this charter, do not repeat the same old, same old. We now want to get involved. We want you to publicize, and we're interested in that so that all the people of South Africa get an opportunity to play in the space, not only the people who are deemed fit by the sector.
So you're saying that the mining industry in itself would have to account to you or even get approval, if you will, before they appoint their BE partners, especially the majority share?
We are interested in that in the current scenario, you find one person having been identified by 5 different mining companies as a BEE. But we say there are so many black South Africans who are there, qualified, who want to play in the sector. Your mining companies, as you select people, indeed, we must give a right, we must give Section 11. We'll ask these questions.
And if you talk about the usual suspects, I mean, there had been a wave with the new BEE before it became the triple BEE charter came out, or rather codes, that there are certain politically astute or influential people that would be identified for these particular deals. So you're saying that now you've broadened the scope to even include people that are outside that circle of influence, if you will.
All the black people of South Africa, irrespective of whether they are known or unknown, if they qualify, we must give them an opportunity to play in this sector. These minerals belongs to them.
Okay, let's talk about the court case. You have an interdict. Were you surprised, number one? And secondly, are you confident that the proceedings will work in the favor of the mining charter?
We are very happy that we are here, because at least this gives us a chance, and the people of South Africa, to hear the side of the chamber when it comes to transformation. What do they want transformation to be like? We have put our story out there in the public, 30%, 51% in terms of new prospecting rights. Now, what is their problem? We want to hear, and we believe that the courts will be able then to give us that platform so that we understand exactly what is their problem when it comes to changing the lives of the people of South Africa. 23 years down the line, they should be grateful. Time has arrived that we should move on and empower our people. So it's a good opportunity. We are glad. It's not about winning or losing. It's about proving once more to the people of South Africa that we're not afraid. There's nothing wrong in the charter that we are trying to hide. That is why in the first place we said, okay, 2 months, let's wait and hear what the court says, because we are confident that we have followed all the steps that needed to be followed, and it is time that we together implement and bring our people on board.
Thanks indeed for your time. We're speaking to Minister of Mineral Resources Mosebenzi Zwane, explaining the process going forward and the elaborate discussions that will still continue to implement the new mining charter. Do stay with Africa News Network, first fast live, only on 405.